What's going on, Guardians? SimplySepe here, coming at you from a long hiatus with an informational video on how average Joes, like myself, can get to go flawless in the Trials of Osiris with just a change of their gameplay that will help elevate you in terms of, I don't want to say skill, but the approach you take to the survival-based match mode. So as you can see, average mathematically would be 1 KD. You'll see pop up on the screen in the top right that I have around a little bit higher than that, but for argument's sake, it's average, right? You can see the 16 times flawless, which may not be attainable for all, but certainly a single time, a secondary time is feasible if you want any of the adept loot or any of the swag that comes from the lighthouse chest. So, without further ado, let's get to some of the principles that I utilize to be a better Trials player and to get myself to the lighthouse. So, very basically, these could be broken into 4 principles. The first one being, play your life, i.e. survive. Now, this may seem like a very straightforward premise, but here's the reason that a lot of people fail to do so. A lot of people fail to prioritize saving themselves over getting a kill. And in reality, in a survival type game mode, there are a lot of logistics that go into that type of mindset that are wrong for several reasons. And when we go through the gameplay, I'll explain step by step why that is. So the next principle is to guard revives. Very simply, this means if you get a kill on the enemy team, you want to make sure that that player is not revived so they come back into the match. And you want to do this as safely as possible, either through abilities or through staying at a safe distance away from enemies, so that way you can also adhere to principle 1 of play your life. So the third principle is to adjust to your environment. And this is a big deal in terms of adjusting your loadout so that it's copacetic with the map. So some loadouts play better on some maps than they do on others. For instance, in the gameplay, you'll see that we're on Rusted Lands, which is a very large map for 3v3 with a large divide in the middle. Perfectly suited for long-range weapons such as scout rifles and pulses for primaries, and snipers for secondaries. Fourth and final principle, just to keep things simplified, is to be unpredictable. Now, whether this means finding an area of the map that is not typically utilized, or not playing a round in a way you played a previous round. Maybe you got sniped off of a barrel. You'll see in Rusted Lands that happens all the time because there's a snipe spot which is not ideal depending on what side you spawn on. But essentially the reason you want to do this is because in survival type game modes, being unpredictable will make you more formidable. And the reason I say that is if a sniper is aware that you're going to go to the same spot every time, eventually, for better or for worse, he will hit one of those snipes. So now let's get right to the gameplay and do some voiceover here. So as you can see, I'm starting out with a scout. I'm keeping my distance, I take some damage, and I prioritize staying behind cover over peeking out and getting the kill. Still taking a little bit of damage, pushing because I have my super and I want to guard the res. That guy isn't even descoping from his sniper, allowing me to get the multi-kill and clear out the round. You can see it was a pretty close match, considering it was 3-3 at the time.
Guardians make their name at the brink
So this
of
next
defeat.
round and match is actually very interesting because we come from behind we're losing 1-4, and we actually come from behind to win this match in its entirety. You'll see because the other team is up 4-1 and they have a super, they push very aggressively as they should. They're just trying to close out the match before we can get any of our supers. In this manner, you're going to see me use abilities and a pulse to keep my distance, try to put as much damage into the enemy team as possible without exposing myself. You'll notice that based on the grenade damage they received, my teammate was able to clean up the 2 people with the supers, and once the people with the supers were down, killed by the SMG, we were able to collectively move in as a unit and take out the last player. So now the next round ensues. What you want to avoid doing here is just supering off the rip. If you solo super and your teammates don't push with you, it could be bad. So I think the biggest recommendation, it always comes down to, first and foremost, is one, to play your life. Right now we're just being patient, we're not being overly aggressive. Again, Trials being a survival type game mode, you can see my teammate's pretty hurt, so he's playing his life right there. And I'm not in communication with any of these individuals throughout the entire gameplay because I went in solo. So I'm just trying to basically see where the other team is going to align, take a couple of pot shots at them. I notice that one guy's sniping. I want to avoid dying with my super. So I see two people, I go for them, and I see the warlock sitting up top. I pop a nade because I see him pop his super. I almost die there, but I'm hoping that if I take out two people on the enemy team, that my teammates will be able to clean them up even if I get killed by the guy with the super. Different match here. You'll notice that a lot of people, they try to play that corner. I pulled out the toaster for a couple of rounds in specific matches, especially when other teams were playing a very odd style of play. You'll notice that I try to keep that guy as low health as I can because he's going for the res. And that's the big number 2 principle of guarding reses. So I put enough damage into him so he couldn't pick up his fallen teammate. Continuing on with the toaster, I throw a nade up top because that's a prominent snipe spot on this map. I get a warlock punch. I know he's going to slide out because I was more hurt than he. And then I notice that his friend also goes for the res. Principle number 2, guard the reses. Skipping to principle number 4 here is be unpredictable. So you'll see I get a kill from on top of the rubble over here. People don't expect to see you on top. If they see you on the radar, they expect to see you on the ground. And a lot of times they don't look up. So this is a good area to be on for rusted lands. It's a nice little quick tip. They actually just nerfed stompies due to players' inability to look vertically. That was actually in the developer notes and is quite comical. So here's another area where being unpredictable, the reverse mindset kind of hurts this other team. So I told you earlier that up top is a prominent snipe spot. I always throw a grenade there, ends up killing that person. And I throw a knife down low, just because that's also a spot where people peek out of. And it was the exact same type of behavior that they exuded the round before. So this round is a little bit of a long one, right? So I get the first pick. My teammates were already down, so it was a 1v3 from the start. I try to bait out this res, but the other team, even though it's a 1v2 or a 2v1 in their favor, they're very reticent. They're guarding the other reses over there, which makes more sense. They're guarding 2 reses versus me guarding the 1. But what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to do a couple things. I'm trying to bait them out. I'm trying to be patient and play my life. I'm also trying to build my super. You can see that I'm at small numbers. If I can get my super, that may swing the momentum of this round. So I'm just trying to make sure, because I'm playing against 2 people, that I don't expose my guardian to the point where I could get team shot and just get insta-killed, because that could happen quite a bit. So you'll notice I have my super, and now it's time for people to stay on the zone. So I use my super to kill the one guy that's kind of guarding the reses. I was going to go for the reses, but the guy guarding the zone I think would have capped it if I had not just sprinted over. I throw a bad nade there, but luckily the guy puts a bad shotgun and then forgets where he is, allowing me to close the round. So remember what I said, up on this ledge was a prominent snipe spot, as denoted by that guy with the red light. So I throw my abilities up there almost every time, no matter what class I'm running. a different person actually snipes my teammate. I hide behind this wall. I am not peeking out at all. I know that my teammate cleaned up one of their guys, so I don't have to worry about farming my teammate. I know that the guy is going to go for this res. I want to make sure that I'm not in his area, so I back up a little bit. He ends up farming his teammate in the process, and then as a team, we team shot and collectively push together to get that final kill. And really there, it all comes down to predictability, right? I know that there's always going to be someone that peeks that up top if you go to that side of the map. So I typically don't do it, so that way I don't get ability / sniped in the face. You could tell that these guys on the other team, a lot of them are hard-scoped Harrys, because I'm able to snipe this person with a Jotun, because they are just hard-scoped on that barrel. Also, recommendation, I never recommend standing on that barrel, because the spawn spot that my team had, you will be able to jump up onto the truck nearly every time. And I'm just right now breaking out the toaster. You could tell that I, again, adhere to principle number 1, play my life. I almost died there, and I wanted to make sure that we ended this round clean. So I let my 2 teammates run in and get the final kill. So now this one is pretty tense. It's 4-4. Their team just cast a Nova Bomb, actually, and a Shadow Shot at the same time. They had 2 supers to our none. It is now 2v3. Luckily that guy gets a little bit stuck. I'm keeping my distance. I have kill clip. This guy rushes, making it another 1v1. I was still at full health. That guy takes a little bit off me. I need to make sure that that guy doesn't get the res. I'm luckily able to do so we're able to close out the match. So now this one's interesting. I'm on my Titan. We end up losing this match. This was one of the areas on one of my cards that got mercied. I really typed to my teammates. There's really nothing I could do. It's a 1v3. My teammates were never adhering to principle 1, which is play your life, so majority of this whole match it was 1v3. Luckily I get the kill. They leave the revives completely, which is kind of odd, allowing me to get back to my teammates and turn it back into a 3v3. And now I'm still hopeful that we could turn this match around. Again, spoiler, we don't end up doing that. Me and my teammate end up team shotting that guy. I don't want to peek again just in case that guy is still taking pop shots in those areas and I don't get picked. So now it's time for the zone, so everyone's going to transition back over to the zone. Luckily, their attention is focused on my teammate, so I'm able to clean up both of those kills from afar with a scout. So there's a lot of other clips that I had, but to avoid making this a 20-minute video, they all adhered to the same 4 major principles. What I wanted to impart is that really anyone with an average KD, or even close to it on the under, can make it to the lighthouse if they adjust their playstyle to be more conducive to a survival type game mode. You just need to have the self-awareness to know where your weak points are and to want to improve those weak points. It really does come down to self-awareness and modifying your behavior in the way you play a survival type game mode like Trials of Osiris. I hope this video was helpful for you going into the weekend of 5/13, and I'm hoping that any information that I could provide may in fact get you either to the lighthouse for your first time or help you get there if you've been struggling for the past couple of weeks. But again, this is SimplySepe signing off, and I hope you enjoyed the video.